All right, what's up, guys? VV back with another video. And in today's video, guys, we're going to be checking out Enel. That's right, we're going to be checking out OP07 Mono Yellow Enel. We're going to be doing a deep dive into this leader for this video. About 2.5 to 3 weeks ago, I did do a video talking about Vegapunk, Enel, Katakuri, just kind of doing almost more like a meta update. And I did focus a lot on Enel in that one, but this video is going to be like strictly Enel. We're going to be, let me give the quick layout. We're going to be checking out the deck lists from over in the East, because in the West, Enel's not as good as Katakuri currently, because we still have Reject in the format, and EB01 is not hit yet either. Then we're going to be looking at, after we go over the decks of Enel from the East for OP07, then we're going to be going over to 5 games on the sim that I did, and we're going to talk about those, analyze them, and then we're going to go over the deck list at the very end. So, excuse me. Just to give you guys a heads up, y'all know I like to give y'all all the information up front, and lately I've been being pretty consistent with doing the timestamps, so that way you guys can jump just straight to wherever you want in the video, and that's in the description of the video. Well, okay, guys, we got a lot of games to get through, a lot of information to get through, so let's just go ahead and dive straight into this. You know what you're getting into, and as usual, if you have any comments, questions, suggestions, please put them down in the comment section below. I love reading those and answering those when I can, and yeah, you guys know the drill. All right. Excuse me. So the first list we're going to look at here is going to be, this was just, if you go to, I use OnePieceTopDecks.com for all the local tournaments. And lately they finally have had a decent sized tournament, which I'll talk about in a later, probably tomorrow's video, we'll be talking about Red Purple Law. But they finally had a decent sized tournament, a flagship with 300 players in Thailand. It's not a 500 plus player tournament like a Bandai tournament, but or a Bandai level, however you say that tournament, like the big regional level tournaments, but it's better than nothing. And we will talk about that in, like I said, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be talking about that in tomorrow's video. I have it lined up for that. But today we're going to be talking about some, more local tournaments with, not Katakuri, whoops, with Enel. And this is the list that we're looking at today. This is very similar to what I'm running, not exactly the same, but there is a general format, there's a general layout to how this deck runs. It's going to want to run 4 Katakuris, so right away, if you're building on a budget, this will probably not be the deck for you. I'm just trying to be upfront with you guys, being totally transparent. But it's going to run 4 Katakuris, 4 Yamatos, and 4 Ace. Those 12 cards are probably not interchangeable. Like, I think you do have to have those 3 cards. It's really 12 cards of the deck, right? That's over 20% of the deck, right? That's over 20% of the deck. So just to put that in perspective. Now, some cards that are more interchangeable, Beige is not. I would say Beige is like, this is one of the strongest 2K counters in the game, if not the strongest 2K counter from the game, especially from the trigger spot. Because, it's always a 2K, but if you get it as a trigger, it's just, oh, it's so good. But some cards that are interchangeable, you can absolutely not run this card if you don't want to. Like, there's a 7-cost, 9,000 power card called Charlotte Compote, I believe it's called, Compote. And it's just a vanilla card. It's a 7-cost, 9,000 power, 1K counter card that just fills the spot of this one. And for those who might be thinking, like, well, how does that fill the spot when this card has an incredibly powerful effect? Well, the answer is it's a 1K counter, always. Like, it has that defensive capability. And on top of that, it is larger. It is a 1,000 power larger. And this effect is dead if your opponent has no life cards, right? And that's like the big thing is later in the game, which is where you're trying to go with this deck. You're trying to go late game, late game, late game. Then this card becomes dead when your opponent has no life cards. And it also hurts in an inverse way when you're at 2 life. Like, say you're at 1 or 2 life, and if they choose for you to gain a life, well, now you're turning off your abilities, from cards like, where is he down here? Like with Ace, you won't be able to gain the life from his effect. I mean, technically, you can choose not to gain the life and still get Rush, but still, the point is, you want to get the full value out of all your cards. And in certain situations, this card is dead. Another reason, or excuse me, the only way that I would say that this card is just strictly better than the 7-cost 9K vanilla version is probably if you can play it perfectly on curve if you went first. So that way, you go straight into this on turn 4, and then turn 5 you can follow up with something like a Yamato. That is, like I said, that's the best case scenario where this card is just strictly better than the vanilla. But I do think the vanilla can compete with the slot very easily, and I've played it in the past and had good success with it. Shirahoshi, probably not interchangeable because you want this constant card draw. You want to have as many triggers as you can in the deck because you want to punish your opponent for attacking into your life, and simultaneously, you're going to be gaining life so much with the leader effect. Excuse me. Let me read the leader effect for any of the new players real quick. Well, first of all, this is a 5,000 power 4-life monocolored leader. That's not usual, right? Normally a 5,000 power, or excuse me, normally a monocolored leader would be 5,000 power and 5 life. Well, Enel has the ability to gain life built in as like a reaction to something, right? You don't have to play, you don't even have to pay any Dawn or have any setup. You just have to hit this requirement of hitting 0 life, and then you get to discard a card to gain a life. I'm not going to go through all the technical stuff in this video, but just understand that that effect has a lot of things that can work around it. Just to give one example, there's a situation where you can gain 2 life in 1 turn from that leader effect if this is your last life card. And one more thing I want to draw attention to, again, I'm trying not to get too technical, but notice how this says then trash 1 life card from your hand, and so does the leader's effect. Then discard 1 card from your hand. Understand that the effect happens first, and then you try to satisfy that last part there. So in other words, that last part can fail. So if you have 0 cards in hand, and this is your last life card, you can gain 2 life with these effects here. Very, very powerful, right? Very, very powerful. So really cool stuff there. And if you have any questions on that, number one, you know, checking out the FAQ, the Q&A or whatever it's called of each set is the best way to learn. But if you have any questions, by all means, put them down in the comment section below, and I'll do my best to answer them, you know, as fast as I can. Okay, so everything else I think is pretty much set in this deck, you know, or is pretty interchangeable, except this card. RECKO, I think the technical translation is Kingdom Come, is what it'll be in EB01. This card, I would argue, is a must-have in the deck, at least as a 3-of. I would say at least as a 3-of. You can run it as a 2-of, I guess, but I feel like you're just hurting yourself, because one thing that Yellow struggled with, you know, since it was made, was the ability to deal with bigger characters. It had to just battle big characters with big characters, like the 10-cost Lin. You'd have to play that card in like a Big Mom Pirates deck just to be able to battle against like a Kaido or some type of other 10-cost character, or 8, 9, 10-cost character, whatever. Now, yes, it is true that Katakuri can bounce an 8-cost character. So this, just understand right away, guys. I'm sorry if I'm all over the place. Just bear with me. Understand that this character right here is a huge answer in the format going into OP07. And I think that Enel is one of the best decks in OP07 because of a card like this. Because what is one of the biggest cards in the game right now that costs 8? I'll give you a hint. It's in the color black. Gecko Moria, right? Obviously. This card is a card-for-card answer to Gecko Moria. Now, yes, you do give them a life, but at the cost of establishing your own 8-cost body on the board, and like time warping, right? Like you push the guy to their life, and now because the card is in their life, they can't use it, right? There is no way currently for black to like get a card out of its life, you know, like unless it's Luffy, right? If it's like black, yellow, Luffy, it can like grab Luffy's from life, but not Gecko Moria, right? So they'll have to hurt themselves just to get the card back, and that might not be the right play. You guys get my point. This card is very strong in removal, but what do you do with the 9-cost and 10-cost characters? Well, now we actually have an answer in RECKO, or Kingdom Come, as it will be called in EB01 for the English translation. This card is a 6-cost. This is Yellow's version of Red Rock. Excuse me. KO up to one of your opponent's characters, period. Okay? Then trash the top of your life cards so your life total becomes 1. Obviously, with Enel, we want to stay at 1 life, right? We're trying to go down to 1 life at all times. Well, this card right here says I'll just pop any character in the game, you know, and then I'll go down to 1 life. Oh, I'm already at 1 life. You see what I mean? Like, that's how it'll kind of go. Or that's the idea behind it. Very, very powerful. The 2K counter spots, I would say, are pretty negotiable. Notice this deck's only running 8 2K counters. Did I look at that correctly? Yeah. It's only got 4 of the Flampe. I would say this one is absolutely required. Oh, and then beige. So it's got 12. Excuse me, guys. I totally overlooked that. But actually, well, there you go. These are your best 2K counters, but this could technically be Satori. Just technically speaking, if you don't have this card, it comes out in OP07. But once we get a hold of this, this will probably replace Satori. I would say it probably will always replace Satori, to be honest. Like I don't see a situation where this card is worse than Satori, except if it's like your very first life card. But if it is your very first life card, you can still use this trigger to draw a card. And for those who do not know what this card is, this is a 4-cost, 5,000 power, 2K counter. The card would be good with that alone, in my personal opinion. but then it also has a trigger of draw one card, and then if you have one or less life, play this card. So in other words, you can always just hit the trigger to draw a card if you want to cycle through, or it's a 2K counter in your hand. But if you have one or less life cards, remember, that's like the whole theme of this deck with like RECKO and all this other stuff. Well, then you're going to be able to play the card for free and draw a card, and still draw. Yeah, excuse me, and still draw the card. So it's extremely, extremely good. What else? And honestly, I'll have to check the wording on the. I will have to check the wording on. Oh, never mind. I was going to say something. I wanted to see when the draw card resolved, but it wouldn't matter because you'd want to play this regardless if you're at one or less life. Sorry, guys, disregard. Okay, then we do get this card in EB01, Shirahoshi. This is good now that Sakazuki is going to be out of the format. Blue decks will still have a way to just like bounce this out of the way. Green decks will have an easy way to just tap it down. But this is still a very good card, and it deserves respect in the field. Like, they have to deal with it, or they have to let you use it as a blocker. This is a new 2 cost to 0 power, 1k counter, and then when this character is KO'd by your opponent's effect, place up to 1 card from the top of your life, or from the top of your deck onto your life. And it's a blocker, like I said. So this card is very, very solid. Very good blocker. It's still only being run as a 3 of because it's not like the best deck or the best card in the deck, but it's still a very high utility card. And then this version is running 4 Gadatsus and 3 Sabos. I am not running that. We'll look at my deck list at the end. I'm not running that much removal, but I could see where that would be very good. Sabo especially because you're taking your own life. A lot of times what will happen is people will see you're playing Enel and they might not attack into your life early on. You know, I get it. You know, it's an interesting strategy, but it makes sense in some situations. And this is the new OP07 Luffy. This card's excellent. It's a 5 cost, 6k, 1k counter, just like Sabo is. It's 5 costs, by the way, so for the black-yellow Luffy players, you see what you're getting. Activate main, place this card in your trash. If your life is 2 or less, make sure your life is 2 or less, KO up to one of your opponent's cost 4 or less characters, and then draw a card. Trigger, KO 4 or less. So just excellent, excellent utility card. Tons of removal, like I said. 2 Luffys, 3 Sabos, 4 Gadatsus. 4 Katakuri can double over as removal, of course. 4 Yamato can act as removal. Ace kind of acts as removal if you can give him Rush, because you can just smash into their tapped characters. So just lots and lots of control in this deck, and lots of ways of gaining life and staying in the game. Okay, so that's pretty much it. We'll look at a few other Enel lists real quick, just to kind of show y'all that, like, it really doesn't change much from that. So this was the one we just looked at. We'll look at this one now and just do a quick glance over. Is this the deck we just... Oh, no, excuse me. It's not, because this one has 200 million volts of Maru. So this one has a few cards off, I guess. But it's running... I'm trying to just look real quick to what I think it is. Oh, it's not running the Luffys. Instead of running Luffy, it's actually running the 200 million volts of Maru. So that's like the only change that I see in this deck, and the numbers might be slightly different for each card. Okay, let's look at one more, and then we'll move on from here. Okay, and actually, I do want to check for one other list. This one's running Thunderbolt. So you see, like, the core of the deck is pretty set, right? The core of the deck is all there. 4, 8, 12 for the 8 cost and higher characters. The 2K counter package is the exact same with Frankie, Beige, and Flampy. And by the way, I didn't even talk about Flampy. This is coming out, or Flampay, however you say it. This is coming out on Friday, at the time we record this video, tomorrow, in EB01. This is a 1 cost, 2K counter. Okay, who cares? It has 1,000 power. It doesn't even matter. On play... Sorry, guys, let me blow it up for y'all. On play, you add the top or bottom card from your life to your hand, and then you draw a card. So this is a 1 cost draw to. This card is incredible, and it's a 2K counter. This is a super, super high utility card. It is on par with a 2K counter like Beige as far as like utility and how strong it is. Very, very good card there. Okay, and this one's running Thunderbolt, like I said, which is really good for just cracking your own life down to 1 so that you can get further and further value from your cards like, you know, Kingdom Come and so on. In fact, if you're at like 10 Dawn and you have 2 life, here's a combo you could use. I'll just pop your 5 or less for 2 right there and go down to 1 life. And then, whoops, then I'll hit you for, you know, I'll pop whatever your biggest character is with RECKO. And I just got 2 cards. I used 2 cards, but you lost 2 cards on the field. So, you know, there is some potential there. It's just, you know, just one thing you could do. I'm not saying it'll be like the best combo ever all the time. But there is one other version. I'll look through a few more of these. I can't find it yet through these top 4. But I did see one list that was running the 7 cost Compote here. I won't spend too much time looking for it. Okay, this one's running Onami, by the way. That's very interesting. Instead of the Thunderbolts, it's running Onami, and that's not bad either. as a trigger, it's literally Thunderbolt. But you can also give your leader Banish, which can help your leader or a character Banish, and then you can pop cards that way. Very, very powerful. And we'll look at one more list, guys. Let's look at like a really big list. First place at this 64-player tournament flagship, and then we'll be done. Okay, nice. Just by total happen chance, however you say it, this one does have the actual 7 cost 9K vanilla card. Everything else looks the exact same, you know, with few cards moved around here and there. This one's not running as much removal. It's running the Kikanojos, which I do like this card a lot. But this one's not running as much removal like with the 5 cost Luffy, the Thunderbolts. It's not running the 200 million Voltamarus, and it's not running the Sabos. So you can kind of pick and choose how you want to run it as far as that goes. Okay, let's go ahead and dive into some games now, guys. Enough blabbering about these all these different you know, slight nuances in each deck. Let's actually get into some games here. Let me hit play, make sure we're on 2x speed, and we are good, guys. So this first game, I'm going against Purple Luffy here. This is OP05, I think it's OP05 Luffy. I can't remember if it's OP04 or OP05. I believe it's OP05 though. Yeah, it is. It's OP05. And so right here, I just try to keep the pressure on him. And that's one thing I have noticed with Enel, is you do want to keep pressure on your opponent. Even though you're going to the late game, you want to keep pressure on him so that he has to respect your big characters. And notice in this version of the deck, when I did the video about 2.5, 3 weeks ago, talking about Enel, I was using the 7 cost of vanilla card. Well, in this version, by the way, notice I'm aggressively taking my own life here to draw cards. This guy swings 6 into my life. I will always take that. Let me pause real quick. Hang on. I gotta catch up on these two thoughts here. Number one, I'm trying out the one you see on the screen at the top right here, the 7 cost Charlotte Linlin from the starter deck, ST07 starter deck, over the 7 cost Compote vanilla coming out. I believe it comes out in EB01 or OP07, I can't remember. But, and I just want to see how this goes. That's why I'm trying this one. I liked the vanilla a lot, but I just want to see how this one felt. And they both felt about the same. So anyway, real quick. My opponent is attacking into me when I have 1 life left, even though he only has 1 attack. And that is ill-advised, because now people think like, yeah, but you still have to trash a card. No, you're giving me the opportunity to get more and more triggers. And you're letting me fix my hand. I'm cycling out cards from hand with my life, getting access to more triggers and all that. If you cannot invest 2 attacks into your opponent's last life when they're playing Enel, I would strongly or I would urge you to not do that, right? I would strongly suggest against that. Okay, so I'm going to swing 5 into him, and now he gives me a life with Charlotte Linlin. He did not want to lose a life. I think he should have, probably, since he's already pretty much at 10 Dawn. But who knows? I don't know what's in his hand. He's trying to play as smart as he can with the information and the knowledge that he has. So, again, I think he attacked into my life again when I had 1 life. I will always take that, right? Okay, so I pop his Eustace Kid here with Raigo or Kingdom Come. And I'm going to swing 8 into 6. I'm going to lose 2 Dawn, but I'm not too upset about that. It's not the end of the world. And here we go. I'm swinging 8 into 6. He gives me a 0 cost 3K counter, and his turn. So it still costs him 2 cards from hand. I'm fine with that. Okay, unfortunately, I can't use that Raigo there. The trigger on Raigo or Kingdom Come is it's Yamato's effect. So you add up your life and your opponent's life, you can KO a character that has that much or less. Okay, so this 7 cost Linlin is just putting in work. Just swinging 8 every single turn. And that's where, like, you know, I feel like he should be battling more for the board. But I think he got, like, the, how do you say it? Okay, he's going to pop that card. I don't know if he knew what Shirahoshi did. But if you pop Shirahoshi, you give me a life. Okay, so I 2K counter out to save my 8 cost card. I get a Shirahoshi trigger. This is why you have to be so careful giving me life. You have to be so careful giving Enel life. I use another Raigo. I pop his 9 cost card. Now he's set back with Dawn, and I'm swinging in for 7 here. I'm gonna swing 8 into his leader, and then into his character, and swing 10 into face. And I have full control of this board. He's down to 7 Dawn, I believe, 6 or 7 Dawn, and now, you know, I have full control of the situation. He does have blockers to help him get back in the game, but I'm just gonna swing 9 a bunch of times and make him block out of all of this. So swing 9. He's probably going to give me his blocker here, because you don't ever want to go down to 1 life. Okay, instead he gave me a Blast Breath and a 1K counter. Okay, no problem. I'm going to swing 5 because I'm going to force you to, use some cards here. Gives me a 2K, swing 5, and then swing 5. So now I know he has pretty much nothing in hand. He has absolutely no way of winning this game, even if I take both of these attacks, and I can just swing all out next turn. So he's going to swing 8 into 8. It's way too late for that, man. Like, it's way too late for that. Now I'm going to swing 9 into you. That's going to be that. Swing 9. He's going to take his blocker, and the rest is going to go here. Good game. So, oh, look, he did have the 10-cost Luffy in hand. But against me, I don't know. I just feel like, how do I say this? I think Luffy is really bad into Enel, right? Because it's on your opponent's turn once per turn. So even if they get to, even if I use it once, now it goes back to their turn again, and I get to refresh my leader's effect. So that seems very strong into any kind of purple deck that's running 10-cost Luffy. Or someone correct me if I'm wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that's how that works. Okay, next up here, we have got Dragon. This is OP07 Dragon. I do think this leader has some potential, but I think it's going to take a while for people to figure out how to run it properly, what deck list to run, because it might not be Revolutionary Army, believe it or not. See, check this out. He's running Haruto. This might be some Whitebeard version of the deck. Okay, so we're going to swing 5 into Dragon here. He's going to give me a 1K counter. I play out double Shirahoshi. I've never felt safer, guys. I've never felt safer against a red deck ever. Number 1, because of my leader's effect, where I can go down to 1 and be very healthy. And number 2, because I have 2 Shirahoshis on the board that will act as blockers no matter what. Because even if they get KO'd, it'll just give me a life, right? It's just perfection. It's like, this leader does seem like a very, very hard counter to mono red decks. Law is a little bit different because he can bottom deck things. That gives him a small advantage in that regard. But, because his removal gets around cards like Shirahoshi. Okay, so he does not attack me there because I'm at 1 life. That was smart because I was obviously going to take that attack and just start cycling through my triggers. Okay, I play out a Shirahoshi full cast, and I tossed 2 cards. I probably should not have tossed the Raigo. Looking back, I wish I had tossed out one of the Yamatos instead. But I didn't know what this guy's playing, right? I have no idea what cards are in this deck. And we're about to see a card, there you go right there, that I wish I had saved Raigo or Kingdom Come for. Because that would have just been an easy target to remove here. Okay, so he's going to swing in for 8 here. I take this one. I get a trigger that's going to allow me to gain a life and then trash a card from hand. So I go ahead and trash the other one. And then the other 0-cost event. And then I gain a life with my leader's effect as well. That is one of the situations where this leader, and with all this new, these new added events and support, it becomes very, very strong. So I take that one. I'm fine with that. I just want to save my Gadatsu, and I just want to, I want to keep my board presence, and I want to stay at 1 life. So swing 5 into 5. He gives it to me. I'm like, whoa, okay, that's a little strange. So now I'm just going to swing into here. Of course, he's going to use this blocker. Excuse me. I'm going to swing 6 at face. He takes it. He's down to 2. I'm at 2 life. I still have 1 blocker in Shirahoshi that I'm not afraid to use. And I'm just in good shape here, right? So I let him have Gadatsu because I can easily block out of his attacks into my ace. Okay, we'll see what he does. He's going to swing 11. If he swings 11 into ace, it's not a good idea. I'm going to take that, and I get a beige trigger. Do you see how frustrating it will probably be going against Enel in the future? What trigger is he going to get? Thunderbolt? Is he going to get beige? Is he going to get a Frankie? Is he going to get a... you're the one who should disappear. That's the 0-cost event. What is he going to get, right? The world may never know. And it's just always gas. It's almost just like no downside. So I play out a Gadatsu here just to get another card on the board so I can threaten lethal next turn. So now he has to respect my board or try to win the game this turn, right? He only has 2 options. Okay, so what does he got here? Swing 13 into 10. I'm like, wait a minute, that's just a double 2K. Like, he probably should have done 14 into 10. If he does 14 into 10, I probably use my Shirahoshi. He plays out Kid and Killer, passes the turn, but I'm just going to keep gobbling up this board because I'm not in any rush. I put 1 Dawn on him, so he has to do a 2K and 1K to get out of it. Let's see if he has it. Doesn't even have that. So now I'm feeling, I'm feeling like I'm in a very good position now. Swing 5 at life, swing 6 at life, your turn. He has to win the game this turn. There's no other possibility because he can't clean up the board with what I have in hand and what I have on the board. then I get a Shirahoshi trigger. You guys see where this is going. These triggers are out of control, guys. So I use a 0-cost 3K counter there, and he has 8 Dawn left. It's probably for another dragon or something. Okay, no, it's for a Sanji. So he's going to be able to swing 6, 7. I'm going to take that, use my leader effect to trash the ace because I have 2. gain a life, and then he's going to swing in here. I use my blocker, and that's a wrap, right? Like, guys, that's a wrap. That's game. So here's the situation. Let me pause it real quick. Notice what I drew off the top of my deck for that turn. I drew the 7-cost Charlotte Linlin. In this specific situation, that is 1,000 times worse than a Charlotte Compote, or whatever her name is. Compote, however you say it. Like this card, in this situation, it's just a 7-cost 8K vanilla, which is under rate, right? That's not at the same rate as a vanilla, so it's worse. But if you get it on curve, like we saw in the first, I believe we saw in the first game, then it is actually very powerful. Okay, let's keep going. Next up, we got Enel versus Vega. Okay, I'm just going to say it right now, guys. Y'all bear with me. Let me put on 2x speed first. Okay, yeah, because it's a slightly long game. It's not like a super long game, but it's a little bit longer than like the average game. I'm just going to say it right now. Vegapunk currently needs, I think it needs more support. And it's just coming out in OP07, so it will obviously get more support in the future if they continue on with this leader, or at least wanting to make this leader better. It has a great base level start to a leader, but I do not see a world. I cannot see in any world where this current version of the deck can beat Enel. And you're going to see what I'm saying here. I'm going to aggressively take my own life from his cards, and then I'm just going to attack him every single turn. So that new Nico Robin card is awesome. It's just a draw too. Like, literally, you put that card on the top of your life with your Vegapunk's effect, and then you get to, you know, eat an attack because, you know, you don't care if they take that life, because the trigger lets you draw 2 cards. That card is incredible. And even this 3-cost card, Lilith. This is just a souped up version of what's his name, of Charlotte. Oh my goodness, Paraspero. It's just a souped up version of Charlotte Paraspero. But it needs more, I think it needs more late game threats in order for it to go to the next level. And who knows, maybe Ace will help take it to the next level. But guys, right here, I'm just trying to get to 10 Dawn. I don't care about anything else, because like it's going to get to the point in this game where I start dropping nothing but massive, massive characters that he probably can't deal with. And Vegapunk doesn't want to sit at 1 life like Enel does. He can, but I think Vegapunk wants to sit at around 1, like realistically, like 2 or 3 life. Okay, so I play out Shirahoshi here. You know, his turn, swing 6. You know, I could TK counter out, but I don't want to. I want him to keep attacking with his board. Okay, I'm just going to get a little 2K counter out of that. I'm not too worried, because remember, guys, Vegapunk, the leader, cannot attack. The leader, Vegapunk, can't swing. So he gets Edison. This is a nice card here. It's a 4-cost 5K 2K counter. On play, draw 2, trash 2. And trigger, I think it says trigger if your leader is Vegapunk, you know, play this card. That card's very good as well. What's it called? Shaka. That card is solid. That's a nice 5-cost 6K blocker that you can play from life. Very nice. So he's going to block with it and 1K counter out. And now I play out the 7 Lin, right? The 7-cost Linlin that just says, you want to lose a life, you want me to gain a life. Honestly, I think he should have I think he should have lost a life there. Like, if I were playing and trying to win as Vegapunk in this situation, I wouldn't give the Enel any more life. I just think, because you can gain life every turn with Vegapunk, but what's his name? Enel can't. Enel can only gain as much life as many times as he draws the big 8-cost or bigger cards. So don't give him any extra life if you can help it. I'm on 10 Dawn. And drop these huge characters. Swing 6, swing 8. He got the that chopper card allowed his Lilith to block there. That's why he was able to do that. This Pythagoras, I don't really like the card because it has an on KO effect, which means I can just ignore it. But the on KO effect allows you to play a 4-cost card from your trash. So it's like, okay, that's cool and all, but I'll just ignore it. You know what I mean? So maybe early on in the game it'll be pretty good. I'm not sure. Okay, so I'm going to swing 5 into 5, get him to tap down one of these blockers. He doesn't fall for it. And I'm like, okay, well, if that's the case, then I'm going all in. Swing 8, swing 9, play out Ace, swing 10 while gaining a life. Yeah, this feels impossible. If I'm in Vegapunk's position, I don't know what cards are in his hand, but I know if I'm in his position, this feels like a losing battle. Because what do you do here? Just stack I have like 12 cards in hand, by the way. I have 13 cards in hand right now. So it's like, whatever you do, I'm just going to counter out of, or I'm just going to do, you know, I'm going to make the appropriate response every time. So I counter out of that one just in case he wanted to load up on his Atlas card there and swing everything in. That card right there on the screen. But instead he plays out an Edison. He's trying to draw some cards. He's trying to get back in the game. I get it. But I think it's too little too late here. So here we go. I have another ace in hand, by the way. So right here I mean, let me see what I choose to do here. Oh, I try to get some remaining value from my Enlil, and it actually works. So swing 7, and now it's just going to be swing 7, 9, 9, 10. But realistically, what I should have done there, I think, is swing 5, 8, 9, 10, and then 10 again with ace. Who knows? Maybe the 7 cost Enlil was a better play. Y'all tell me what y'all think down in the comment section below. But either way, I'm feeling like I can't lose, right? I'm feeling like there's just no possible way I can lose here. Vegapunk is an interesting leader, and who knows, maybe it'll be like a hard counter to certain decks. But in the mirror against like Enel, they're going to have to get one heck of a pull, and you're going to have to get one absolutely atrociously bad pull. Okay, next up we got Red Purple Law. Yeah, we got 5 games lined up for today, guys. 5 games. And we go 2x speed. There we go. And I know some people have been saying, like, hey, why don't you try to get better quality games? It's just not in the cards for me right now, guys. No pun intended. But that's just not an option for me. I'm on a limited time schedule. So what ends up happening is the time that I have allotted to make videos, I have to, when I get home, it's like, boom, make that video in this time period, or there's like not a video for that day. You know what I mean? Because then I have to move on from there and go on to the next thing in my life. So it is what it is. I wish I could make better quality videos, like with some of these, like, well, not better quality, but have better quality opponents, I guess is what I should say. But I mean, these games are good enough to at least give you an idea, because you have to remember, how do I say this? You have to remember, like, everything will depend on your skill and your opponent's skill. So when you go to a locals, well, you know, it is what it is. You're either going to be better than the player or not, right? That's what it comes down to. But when it comes to like the highest level of play, for the players who are checking in here, who like take place in big tournaments and stuff like that, I hope to just give you an idea of how the deck functions and what you think of it, and you can give it a try from there with all your buddies and your best friends who are like high level players like you. But yeah, so sorry guys for people who do want want me to go against better opponents or like schedule opponents, from my Discord and stuff, like, hey, you got time for some games? It's like, man, I just don't have time for all that right now. So I do apologize for that, guys. Maybe in the future, we'll see. Okay, well, let me catch y'all up real quick on this game. This Red Purple Law player is trying so hard to battle for the board. He has lost all of his Dawn. I'm at 1 life. I'm actually in a very comfortable position here. So it might not seem like it, but I'm in a more comfortable position than you might think. Because right here, I'm going to swing into his, what's his name? His Shariah, and then I'm going to swing 7 into that guy. So realistically, okay, he can technically, no, he can't, excuse me. I was going to say he could like play out he could cheat out a rush card, but he can't, right? He literally cannot do it because he doesn't have enough Dawn. He only has 2 Dawn. You have to return 3 Dawn. That is how aggressive this Red Purple Law player has been this game. Okay, very, very aggressive. But I play out my 7 cost Enlil, and see, this was a situation where I think the 7 cost 9k 1k counter vanilla card would have probably been better, because I could have more accurately blocked out of certain attacks that just happened. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. It still ended up working out because I've knocked him down to 1 life just by playing that card, and I'm still battling for the board. I'm still at 1 life. I'm still completely fine. So he's going to swing for 7. I'm going to take this and use that. Yeah, because I was trying to bait him into doing that right there. Swing with that Shariah card. Now, and I want him to return 3 and attack with his with a rusher of some sort. He ends up only having a Shariah, but still not a big deal, right? Still not a big deal. So I swing 5 into 5. Just give me all your cards, please. I'll take every one of them. And okay, swing. He gave me a 2k, so I'm like, all right, nice. Swing 8 into it. He gives me a 2k, and I'm like, okay, let's play out ace. And now I'll just eat your card for. There's no way you're blocking out of it this time. So I gained the life. It's almost like we're back to square one with him. He only has 3 Dawn to do anything this turn. I have 1 life. I have 4k counter in hand. I block out of that. Now I pretty much know that I can't lose at this point. He could knock me down to 0 life very easily, but I know I can't lose at this point, right? Okay, and look how aggressive this guy's being. And I get a Frankie trigger. It feels good. Yeah, and that's game. Yeah, he just leaves. When he sees the Frankie trigger, it was probably over anyway right there, since he couldn't, take me out. But when you see that, it's like, okay, I get to draw the card. I establish a body. I've got 2 1Ks in hand and a life left. He only has 1 attacker with 0 Dawn. 0 Dawn on the field, not just rested. 0 Dawn on the field. That's how aggressively this Red-Purple Law just approached that game. I would suggest not going at it that aggressively. I think you should... How do I say this? You actually don't want to rush down the Enel player. You just want to keep going wide with the board. Just go as wide as you can, and then you'll just whittle them down. You'll nick them down from there. So good stuff there. Pretty interesting game. Pretty fun. Enel is just so strong. Okay. Enel does force your opponent to play precisely and, accurately. Precisely, accurately, and, I don't know the other word. This guy just started with a double sentry, by the way. Filled up his trash with 10 cards. But Enel does force your opponent to play honestly. That's the word I was looking for. So, yes, precisely and accurately, but also honestly. You have to respect him. Okay, so he's going to swing in for 6 here. He's probably going to pop my Shirahoshi, which I would not recommend. In fact, I think a better play here would probably be Perona. We'll have to see what he has in his trash. Let me make sure we're on 2x speed, guys. I'm sorry. Gecko Moria, by the way, at OP07 still looks as good as it has been. Sorry, guys, I'm stuttering today. So he does. He attacks into my life, popping my guy with Absalom. I pop his Absalom with my Gadatsu, and I'm just gonna keep going, guys. That's what Enel does. Enel just wants to get to the late game, and that's where I think the best answers against Enel is hand destruction, because if you can hit him with a pudding when he has 10 or 12 cards in hand, excuse me, 10 or 12 cards in hand, that is a wrap, buddy. That it's bad news bears for the Enel at that point. But Isho's very good. Perona's very good. Those are your best options in my personal opinion. Okay, so right here, I'm at 2 or less life, so I can use the Luffy's effect to KO the 4-cost Lucci. I'm going to swing 7. I do want to put some pressure on the Gecko Moria. I want to get him down to where he has 2 or less life cards, where he starts feeling uncomfortable, where he starts feeling like he has to play a little more defensive. Plays out a Perona and an Anupe. I think he's going to do the Anupe effect first. No, he has me trash a card first, then he gets the Anupe effect. I trash Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt's not the best card in this matchup when he already has me down to 2 life. Thunderbolt's a little better, first of all, off the trigger, like that right there. And then, whenever you have it early in the game, and they won't take your life. So right here, I just want to play, let me see. Do I have 9 Dawn? I believe I have 9 Dawn. So I really want to get rid of this, this Gecko Moria, because that card is a threat. And right here, I really considered playing out a beige. I know that sounds crazy. I considered playing out a beige and then trying to wait for, try to get him to waste removal on it because it's just not a relevant card, just to slow him down. But he has another Gecko Moria. He's going to get the exact same effect. And right now, it's looking a little bit rough for me, to be completely honest. He probably can't attack this turn, or if he does attack, it would not be wise because I could just, cycle a life card. But let's see what he does here. He has 2 Dawn. Okay, now it's my turn. But I can swing for 5 here. That's going to make him force a card out of hand. And then I'm going to play out Ace. I go up to 2 life, and I swing for 10 at him. It's starting to... That Ace card is really, really strong in Enel. It was something that was kind of needed. I'm not saying they can't deal with this Ace, by the way. He could load up what he wants to and just, take this Ace out. Or look at that. He's going to go -3 with Helmeppo, -5 with Ice Age, and now he can just pop it with an Absalom. That was weird. He played Absalom from hand. Oh, well, I guess he can still use his leader's effect. No? Okay, that was very strange. I think he should have used his leader's effect here, like swing 5 with Perona and then swing 6. So I get a Raiga. I'm able to KO his Helmeppo. That doesn't really matter. I'm just trying to get cards off the board. And then he doesn't even swing with his leader. Okay, so I'm going to swing 5 at him with my leader. And he has to counter out of this. He knows I'm going to play a 10-cost card, right? Okay, he counters out with Helmeppo. I gain a life. I swing 10. So now he's at the point where 2 things have to happen simultaneously. Let me pause it. And by the way, I have 4K, 6. I have 8,000 power, technically 9,000 power and counter in my hand. He has to remove my Ace while establishing a blocker. He has to do both or win the game. That's the third option, is he has to try to go for game. There's no way he's going to go for game, right? There's no way he can win going for game. But and the other 2 options are he has to remove, or excuse me, the other option is he has to remove my Ace and establish a blocker. I think that's a lot more likely of a scenario, but even that is it's not going to happen because what's in my hand. He would need double Ice Age here and use the leader effect to pop my my Ace and then play out a Sabo. That's his only chance of survival here. Okay, so let's see what he does. He's going to load up 3 onto Gecko Moria. Swings 13 into 10. I don't quite understand that. Like, I mean, if you had gone all in on it, that still probably or KO'd it. Let me see, because I had 9, and that would have put him at 19. Well, that would have done it. But then my Enel just attacks face for free. But not swinging for like an even number, like, you know, okay, he just, sorry guys. So he just taps out there, good game, and he knows it. Like, that turn, what he needed to do was put, so what I would have done, and it still wouldn't have worked, but what I would have done in this situation if I were the Gecko, now that I can see his hand, is I would have loaded all but 4 Dawn onto my, what's his name there, my Gecko Moria. I'm swinging everything into his, or into the ace, and it's a 10K, so if I attach 6 to Gecko, that would be a 15, but I have the 3 2K counters to counter out, and my follow-up would be playing out the Borsalino. I think that's the only option there, but, you know, it is what it is. Sometimes you just have it, sometimes you don't. All right, well, that's it for the games. Pretty fun games, pretty decent matchups. We had Gecko, Red Purple Law, and Purple Luffy. Purple Luffy might make a little bit of a comeback. I'm not saying it'll be like S tier or anything, but, you know, I do think that deck is still fine. I think it's solid. It's just, you know, we'll have to see what happens in the future. But this is the deck I was running. This is the OP07 version of Enel that I was running. I still am mixed on whether or not to play this versus Compote. Compote, however you say that, Compote, however you say this name. I think it really is just a preference thing. Like, do you want a slightly more defensive package where you can use it as a 1K counter early in the game? Because no matter what, if you play Charlotte Linlin on curve or if you play Compote on curve, they're both just incredible, right? They're both just these huge beaters. Like, this one's a 9K and this one's an 8K. My head's in the way, guys. I remembered pretty quickly this time. Whoops. Hang on. Face cam. There we go. Okay. Hopefully I didn't mess anything up there with the recording. What was I saying? Oh, okay. So these are the 2 options here, guys. Like, I mean, you really can play the 7-cost Vanilla or the 7-cost Linlin. It's up to you. It's totally up to you. They both have their pros and cons. I think overall, y'all are going to think I'm crazy, but I actually think this card's better overall. Because number one, it's just a larger body. Like, swinging for 9 is such a clean attack every single time. And if your opponent has like a 6,000 power body on the board, you attach 1, and now you're forcing 3 cards out of hand, or their character, which is what you want. And with Charlotte Linlin, you'd have to put 2 on her to do that. But there are still arguments like, you know, this card, if you are at 1 life and your opponent is at 1 life, then this card is very strong. But if your opponent is at 0 life, this card is dead. It's just an absolutely dead card. It's not even a vanilla because you can't counter out for it, or you can't counter out with it for 1K. So I would suggest you spend a little bit of time on considering which ones. I understand as far as raw power goes, this is the card, right? It is a 7-cost 8K with a very relevant effect. So, you know, if you can play either of these on curve, this one wins. But as far as like overall potential goes for the card, I think the 7-cost vanilla is just where it's at. I'm just saying, and that might just be me. It might be a player preference thing, because clearly, like, I mean, we saw with, what was the last one, the last list that we saw? Like, this won a 64-player flagship event in Japan, and it was running this card. And it specifically, I can't talk. It was specifically not running the 7-cost Linlin. So it clearly does have to do a lot with player preference. Just giving you guys a heads up. The Thunderbolts, if you rip them from trigger, like if you rip them from your life as a trigger, this card is incredible. But otherwise, I don't think it's as needed in something like Enel. And I actually do like, let me get back one more time to this list. Like the 4 Kingdom Comes, those are set in stone, and the 4 Gadatsus, those seem like they're just the way to go. Because late in the game, again, this is the situation where this is just better than any 5-cost 7K, because it still has a 1K counter and it has the added effect. So like in this situation, I would gladly play this over a Randolph, even if there is no character to KO with the on-play effect, because it still has my 1K counter in hand for later in the game. Randolph, for those who don't know, is a 5-cost 7,000 power 1K counter vanilla. Okay. Everything else, though, like my list is very, very similar to this. I just don't run the Kikanojos, and I don't think I run 4 Shirahoshis. Let me see. Yeah, I only run 2 Shirahoshis. I play the 2 Luffy. This card's pretty good. I'm not like head over heels about it or anything, but I think what I would do in the future is instead of running these 4 Thunderbolts, maybe go down to 2 and actually go up like, I don't know. We'll have to see. Maybe I take all 4 out and I go up a Shirahoshi and I go up a Raigo and then I go up 2 Sabos. The Sabo I'm talking about is the one we saw earlier in the lists. This right here. Like, maybe just run this card. It's a 1k counter in hand. It has the lightning bolt effect. Again, it has, there are pros and cons to running each, right? This has a 1k counter in hand, but if you rip this off the trigger, it's insane. Like, there's so many different ways to argue it. And yellow is becoming pretty malleable. Like, you can really push around cards to the way you want to. The only cards that I would say are, like, absolutely staple, that just my personal opinion, I would say Frankie, Flampe, and Beige are staple, like, as far as the 2k counter package goes. And then Ace, Katakuri, and Yamato, staple. I think they're so is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 24 cards. And I would say realistically, probably 4 Raigos are staple as well. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sorry, guys, I can't count. It's 7 times 4, 28 cards. So almost 30 cards in the deck, especially if you include 2 Shirahoshis. That's 30 cards in the deck. They're just straight up accounted for, right? Like, you kind of have to run those. These other 4 Shirahoshi, some people might say, you know, I mean, you guys saw in the games we played how many cards this drew. I think it did. I think I got one every game or like every other game. It's a very, very impactful card. Even if you're just playing it from hand or you're just using it as a 1k counter, it just does what it needs to. It does everything you need it to do. The Luffy's nice. And the deck kind of builds itself from here, guys. But I think if you follow the little format I was saying, the little formula, like 12 2k counters, and they need to be Frankie, Flampe, or Beige. Another card that you might consider for a 2k counter, and you'll have to, you know, mess around with the numbers, like maybe take out like maybe 1 Flampe and 1 Frankie and go up 2 Hiyori. Hiyori is actually not horrible because you can set cards in your life, something like you're the one who should disappear, so that you can gain 2 life in 1 turn if needed, or you can set set a Frankie in your life if you already have, a Frankie in hand, or a Beige, something along those lines. Set a Shirahoshi in your life, things like that. Excuse me, just as like a utility card. I mean, maybe even go up to 14 2k counters. That's not unheard of. That has been done before with success. That is something you can consider. So yeah, that's for the 2k package. That's what I would run though. 12 2k counters, 4 Flampe, 4 Frankie, and 4 Beige, and then I would run 12 bosses. That would be 4 Ace, 4 Katakuri, and 4 Yamato, and then I would run a very strong removal card like Raigo, and I think you do have to run these. You're the one who should disappear. Maybe you go up to 4 of these, right? Like looking back, like if I were to make some adjustments, -4 there. Let me see. I'm just gonna mess around with it for a second. Let me take off this. I took out I wanted to add Raigo, so I might add up to 4 Raigo. Let me take off this. The Shirahoshis. Go up to 3 of those, and honestly, I was saying go up to 2 Sabos, but hang on one second, guys. Y'all give me just a second. I'm going to remove these, go up 4 of these, and then instead of going there, instead of going the Sabos, honestly, I think I just might go up those 2 2k counters or something like that. Excuse me. Let me. If you don't do it like this, it gets really it starts like overloading the system. Sorry, guys. Hiyori. There we go. And maybe we go up to... No, we won't even have to go up to 4 of these now. So there you go. Like, if I were to make any slight adjustments to the deck, it would probably be this. Like I said, I do like having the more counters in hand. And notice every card in the deck is pretty much a counter now, except 16 cards. Those 16 cards being Ace, Katakuri, Yamato, and Raigo. I think this is a little more well-rounded, and it's actually very close to what we were looking at from this guy, but he was running 4 Shirahoshi. I do like that a lot. He was running the 2 Kikanojos. So that is something you could do, is like take out the 2 Hiyoris and adjust it from there however you want to. Was he running the Luffy? That was the card I needed to look at. No, he is not running Luffy. He's running the Kikanojos. But I will say this, I do think that I actually think that this is hard for me to say. I have nothing but like glowing praise to say about this card usually. This is probably the weakest card in the deck for what you're doing. Because number one, there's only 2 of them. He's only running 2 of these in the deck. But honestly, it's a card with no counter on it. And, you know, the chances of a 2 of card being in the cycle are much lower than like a 4 of card, right? And all of his triggers, if you look at them, like 4, you're the one who should spear, 4 Raigo, 4 Frankie, and then 2 Kikinojo, but then 4 Shirahoshi and 4 Gang Beige. So these have a much higher chance of being that card that gets cycled in and out of your life with your Enel effect. Having only 2 Kikinojos, it feels like this is the weakest card, where like I would actually rather this be Monkey D. Luffy, because Luffy, first of all, has a 1k counter. Its only cost is 1 more, but they both have a trigger. And this trigger requires you to be at 3 or less life, which is very easy for Enel, right? That'll happen the first attack, you know, or excuse me, wait, no, excuse me. Your opponent has to be at 3 or less life. I just totally did that backwards. Sorry, guys. But your opponent has to be at 3 or less life. However, with Luffy, you can KO a 4 or less. Because remember, with this deck, you're just trying to stabilize in the early game and just get, you know, just kind of curve out starting on turn 3. Turn 3, because no matter what, if you go first, you're on 5, and if you go second, you're on 6. So starting on turn 3 is when you want to start curving out, and this is just like 1 turn too early. And I'm not saying this card is bad. Please do not misunderstand me. I think this card is incredible, but I don't know if it's what we're going for in a deck like Enel. I just don't think it is. An argument you're going to have with yourself, like I said, is if you want to run this or the 7-cost Linlin. That is a bigger argument than you might think, because that 1k counter and that extra 1000 power attacking, playing on curve, if you're not playing against a deck that's running black, they probably will not be able to remove this, or the way they're going to have to remove it is with something like a Raigo, like the Kingdom Come card we were looking at down here, or like a Red Rock. And it's like, oh, okay, if you're going to use your major form of removal on my 7-cost 9k vanilla, go ahead, because guess what's coming next turn? Yamato or Katakuri, right? Like, it's just, yeah, please use your removal on my vanilla cards so I can keep using cards like this, you know, or establishing bigger cards like this. And that takes up their entire turn because it's like 6 Dawn to remove. So really good stuff there. And again, not saying that the 7-cost Linlin is bad. I'm just saying that I kind of like this better for what we're doing in the deck. And y'all tell me what y'all think down in the comment section below. Well, guys, we really did a deep dive into this one. We're approaching an hour. We're 51 minutes in. If you guys have any comments, questions, suggestions, any of that stuff, y'all know what to do. Please put them down in the comment section below. What do you think about Enel going into OP07? I personally think that this deck is like up there amongst the best decks. I think that, like, I'm not saying it is the best deck, but if there's going to be like a triangle meta or like something close to a triangle meta in OP07, I feel like this will be part of the triangle where it's like Enel, Bonnie, and Lucci. Lucci / Gecko Moria, whatever your flavor of, you know, mono black leader is. And then on the outskirts of that, I think there's going to be Red Purple Law, Black Yellow Luffy, and then some blue deck is going to pop up. I don't know if it's going to be Blue Doflamingo or Blue Boa Hancock, or even, hear me out, guys, hear me out, maybe even something crazy like Blue Green Zoro and Sanji. I'm just saying, I don't think that will be it. That would be the least likely. But Boa Hancock for OP07 and Doflamingo, they got some pretty decent tools going into OP07 for the Warlords package. We'll have to see what happens. And as usual, oh, and did I say Red Purple Law? Red Purple Law, Black Yellow Luffy. Y'all know. I think I might have said it. If not, that'll be another one that you know might sneak into the equation. All right, that's it. Y'all tell me what y'all think down in the comment section below. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me throw up my patrons page. Big shout out to all the patrons, guys. Thank y'all so much. For anyone who just watches the channel, likes, subscribes, shares, I really, really appreciate each and every one of y'all for doing that. And a big shout out to my, you know, all my patrons over here that have been helping me out financially just by like actually donating to the channel. You know, you guys are getting me closer and closer and closer to the dream, right? To being able to do this full time. But yeah, that's it for now. I'm done rambling. So again, please do not forget to like and subscribe, guys. And until next time, peace.